It was a calm autumn. The leaves were turning and the days were getting shorter. The weather was holding and wasn't too cold or snowing yet. It was October, and Halloween was right around the corner. I went out to feed the horses in the morning on a Saturday like I did nearly every weekend. On occasion, Mum would do chores for me. I always take the time to greet each one of my horses and to look them over to make sure nothing is amiss. It only takes a minute or two for me to see if there is something wrong with any one of my horses. Simba seemed off that morning, so I went to do further investigation. First thing I noticed was his weepy eye. Nearly the whole left side of his face was wet, and his eye looked wrong. I talked to him soothingly as I approached him from the left, because I knew that his hearing was not what it had been when I brought him home 5 years ago. I did not touch his face as I normally would have, but reached for his neck to touch him. At first he startled, then calmed as I continued to croon to him in a soothing voice and petted his neck with gentle hands. From my years of experiences with horses, I've come to the conclusion that my horses understand some English. Perhaps it's because I talk to them all the time. I don't know for sure if it's my tone of voice, my words, or the facial expressions I make when I talk, but the way the horses look at me, I get vibes that they are understanding far more than I think they are. Raisin, Nitro, and Fury were gathered near me and Simba. Perhaps they understood something was wrong, and they were offering their calm, solemn support. I continued to pet Simba and had a good look at his eye that was so teary. He was blinking, and it looked as though he had something sticking out of his eye. It did not look like a foreign object, though. It appeared soft. I left him then and got grain and hay for the horses, and then went to call the vet. My veterinarian was at the farm within a half hour. We went out to the barn, and I went to get Simba. He was very nervous and jumpy about where things were, and it took some calm coaxing to get him haltered and into the barn. In order for the vet to look at Simba's eye, I had to be touching him and talking to him the entire time to keep him calm. If I made a move to leave him, he seemed panicked, so I remained at his side, petting and crooning to him until the eye examination was over. The vet explained to me that did not happen very often, but it did happen. The iris of Simba's eye had prolapsed. I led him out of the barn and let him loose to free graze in the yard. He seemed okay with that. I was able to leave his side then to discuss the options with the veterinarian. I was given two options. The first was surgery, which would require taking Simba to Saskatoon to the University of Veterinary Medicine. The surgery would cost approximately $1,500 to remove his eye, plus his eye socket would have a drain in it down through his nostril. Medication would have to be administered, and healing time would take approximately 6 to 8 weeks. His advanced age decreased his chances of surviving the surgery. Option 2 was euthanasia. I needed some time to think. I told the vet he was eating and asked her if it would be okay for a day. She said Simba would be okay, but told me to give him a pain reliever for horses every couple of hours for the pain and discomfort. I let her know I would call her back later and let her know what I decided. When the vet drove out of the yard, tears filled my eyes. It was going to be a hard decision, but I already knew what it would have to be. I had never done this before. I went to talk to my mom and dad and tell them what the vet had said. I assured them that Simba was comfortable with some pain medication right now. Then, without them having to say anything, I explained my decision. For starters, I didn't have the money to take Simba to Saskatoon. Winter was right around the corner, and I knew that if he survived the surgery, the drain would most likely freeze and cause complications. Simba was now 30 years old. His last 5 years here on the farm with us had been a wonderful retirement for an aged horse. He had been loved and cared for by all of us. I said that I was pretty sure from Simba's behavior that he was nearly deaf and could only make out shadows with his other eye. I had to be careful or Simba could hurt someone because of these disabilities. It seemed that only my touch and crooning comforted Simba. He trusted me. I asked Dad if he would dig a hole to bury Simba the next day. He said he would. My veterinarian wouldn't be able to come until late the next afternoon. I went out with my camera and watched Simba meander his way around the yard he knew and loved so well. It was a beautiful fall day, and I was able to get some snapshots of him rolling in a choice dirt spot, walking at will where he wanted, and just be a horse. I called my closest friend Donna and asked if she would come to the farm to be with me when the vet came the next day. Donna assured me she would be there. The next morning dawned bright. It would be another lovely October day. I let Simba out to free graze for the day. He did not need to stand in the corral with the other horses. Simba seemed to enjoy his freedom and trotted off to his favorite grazing spot, which made me smile. I tried to get through the day by doing things that I would normally do. I took Raisin out for a ride bareback. Then I brushed all of the horses and loved each one of them. I knew all their favorite itchy spots, so I scratched and talked to them to let them know how much they meant to me. Dad went out earlier in the afternoon with the track hoe and dug a hole near the end of the Quonset, which was beneath the running horse mural I had painted on the end of the Quonset in 1998. Chad and Donna came early that afternoon to have coffee with me. The veterinarian came, and then we went to the barn. Simba was enjoying his free graze, but allowed me to catch him. It was getting late in the day and was nearly dark. We had Simba out at the side of the barn, and I spoke soothingly to my equine friend. The veterinarian had filled her large syringe and was waiting. She told me to hold his halter to steady him as he fell down. My eyes were brimming with tears as I held Simba. Dad went to the shop. Mom, Chad, and Donna were there for me. The vet found the vein in Simba's neck and administered the fatal dose. Simba fell back and I steadied him to fall on his side. Then I bent down and stroked his face and ears and told him what a good horse he had been and how much I loved him. I felt a hand on my back, and then Mom, Chad, and Donna were all there, giving Simba a last loving stroke and assuring me that I had been good to him and done the right thing. The veterinarian checked for a pulse, laid her hand on my shoulder, and said, "He's gone. So sorry for your loss, Mitzy." Chad went to get the truck and trailer that would carry Simba to his final resting place. Dad came with a track hoe, and I removed Simba's halter. Donna produced some tissues, and we hugged and cried. Donna asked if it was okay if she cut a little piece of Simba's tail as a memento. I nodded. Dad and Chad put straps around Simba's pasterns and with a track hoe slowly and gently lifted Simba's body and set it on the trailer. Chad was so thoughtful. He held Simba's head when they set him down so that it was nice and straight. Chad drove the truck and trailer to the grave, while Dad was driving the track hoe back there to bury him. I took a pail of Simba's favorite pellets, and Mom, Donna, and I walked out toward the Quonset. Chad and Dad had laid Simba nicely in the grave, and I said a few words for Simba, and then we all took a handful of pellets and tossed it on him. He would never go hungry again. We all choked back a sob, and then Dad got into the track hoe and gently covered Simba with dirt until the grave was filled in. We walked back to the house for a coffee and to share 5 years of memories of a great little sorrel horse named Simba. We watched the movie In Pursuit of Honor. I spent more time at the farm than I did anywhere else, even if I was working full-time and had my own apartment in town. Either the next evening or the one after, I'm not sure anymore, Donna said she was coming to the farm for coffee. She had something for me. I had no idea what she could possibly be bringing me. Donna came in and I poured us each a steaming cup of coffee. Donna pulled an aged, horse-chewed piece of wood with some twine on it out of a plastic bag. Then she told me to sit down and listen. I sat and listened while she read the following poem to me. My girl. My future looked grim. I was painfully thin. No good anymore, they said. I was past my prime and not worth a dime. I listened, hanging my head. But there she stood, looking me over good. Could she really be looking my way? I'll take 'em, she said, with a nod of her head. I'll always remember that day. My girl, the one who picked me. She took me home and loved me, you see. She fixed my teeth and trimmed my feet. She fed me 6 times a day. It didn't take long for me to get strong, as she loved me in her special way. I've lived in many places, I've known many faces, but hers is the one I adore. Even though I am old, she treats me like gold. It's her I'd do anything for. Many a night the wind she would fight to walk to the barn in a storm, calling my name until finally I came inside where I could keep warm. I'm happy at last, and 5 years have passed. If only I could stay longer. But I must go, as we both know, to the pasture just over yonder. I'll leave my friends, all younger than I, to help her and love her after I die. If I could have one last wish, let every horse have a girl like this. Donna Peters. Fresh tears were streaming down my face as my friend read the poem she wrote for me. I allowed the feeling of love from Donna and Simba flow through me. I was going to be okay. The poem is handwritten on paper, burnt around the edges, and glued to that beautiful, weather-worn, horse-chewed piece of wood. 2 small holes were drilled in the top for the twine to hang it by, and a little braided piece of Simba's tail hangs from the twine. It is the most beautiful and meaningful gift I ever received.